One of the things that I'm really fascinated by is the use of native and well-adapted plants here in Nebraska, plants that are adapted to the Midwest, but also locally here in the eastern part of the state. I grow a lot of different native trees and shrubs, some perennials, some wildflowers, some grasses, native grasses, and some evergreen shrubs. And I'm particularly interested in the past couple of years, low water use plants have been used quite a bit now because of the drought that we've experienced. Well, one of the methods, or success I should say, for plants surviving under stress, especially with the drought that we've had this year and the past years, and to help in more tolerance to insects and diseases, is to get a good root system developed on plants. And the method that I'm using was developed by the University of Missouri, and it's called the Missouri gravel bed system, where we take bare root trees and shrubs, even some forbs or in some cases some grasses, and grow them in a gravel bed that's a certain mixture of pea-sized gravel and then a finer sand almost, versus potting them or having the trees or plants balled in burlap. For me, it's worked excellent. I've used it for 4 years now, and I can't say one bad thing about it. The system works very well here. The gravel and sand come locally. Here in the Platte Valley we have an abundance of that material, so it works very well. But the biggest advantage that I've found is that the root systems that are developed really are, in one season and in fact 2 seasons, really are outstanding because of the fine root systems that come through the gravel and so forth. You can use a slow release fertilizer top dressing where these trees are on the gravel. I haven't used any as such. My thinking is that if the plant comes in healthy enough that there should be enough food reserve stored up in the plant that it should be fine for at least a year. The second year, if I leave it in a gravel bed, then I'll probably top dress it with a slow release fertilizer. The thing that I really like about this is when we lift these plants out of the gravel bed, the root system in a short time is really developed, and when we're planting them, after the hole is dug, the roots come in contact with the existing soil versus ones that are in a container. The soil or the media in the container might not be match up with the soil that you have on your particular site. So putting these plants in bare root into the soil, you get contact with the soil. They're generally ready to take up water and any nutrients, and it works extremely well. So you have very little water loss in these plants after transplanting, and they're established and ready to go the following spring. Well, these trees over here are a little bit larger. I probably wouldn't use anything larger than this size of a caliper of, in this case, trees. Anything up to 1.5 inches is probably the maximum for my purposes anyway, but we'll get these in bare root in the springtime, and they can be different sizes too, and leave them in there maybe for one growing season if somebody would like a certain tree, or if we use them in a landscape installation, then we'll use that particular tree that season. But typically you don't want to leave them in there more than 2 years. If you do that, then you're probably going to have to use them in an area where you either have to pot them or set them in a landscape. Anything more than 2 or 3 years, the maximum is probably the limit, I would say. But for me, it's worked real well, particularly in shrubs and also in trees. I've never used evergreen trees, bare root, however that might be an option to use those at some point too.